Well, I'm going to kick us off. We've got a full lineup of information here for you. I'm Stacy Toth, and before I shared our screen, I wanted just to show you our faces. Dr. Erin is above me. I don't know where she is for all of you. And Dr. Michelle is also here below me. I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch right now because I've got it squished on my computer and we're all in a line. But we are going to be talking about different ways that sun affect your health. And I feel like very often it's talked about from like an SPF and skin perspective. And we are going to talk about that because it is important. But there's a lot of other things that the sun is doing for or not for your health. And we've got a lot to dive into today. So I'm going to jump us in here. Except now I've lost the window that I just tested and shared. Oh, here we go. Tech problems. Says my screen sharing is paused. I don't know what that means. Are you all able to see it? No? Great.
It says double click. I don't know.
Let's see. Resume. I'm pushing resume share repeatedly. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. We even tested this right before we started the recording. That is very annoying. I'm going to try this again. Spinning for you. Yeah. The same thing here. Resume share. Well, this is very frustrating.
You want me to try? I just have it in the browser, but I can.
That would be amazing. Let me stop sharing.
Okay.
See if you can.
Does that work?
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Erin. I don't know why it wasn't working for me, but I appreciate it. Okay. So we will also give you these slides for those of you that are here. Don't feel like you need to screenshot or take notes. Those of you that are watching in the replay, hopefully you already have the link to these slides so that you can look at the information. Okay, if you can move us forward, Erin. Thank you. So for tonight's plan, we are going to run through the very basics of how sun impacts your health from me, because I am not an expert as these two amazing ladies are. And then Dr. Michelle is going to run through eye health and circadian rhythm, and Erin is going to go through DNA and cellular health as well as skin health. And then we'll kind of recap, do some fun door prizes and a Q&A. So make sure that you're engaging and asking questions in the chat the whole time so that you can be entered to win, because the more that you're chatting with us, the more entries you have. Okay, next up. So the women that I am so excited to introduce you to tonight, Dr. Michelle Shosa is a practicing doctor of optometry and a clean beauty expert, I think over a decade now. Michelle and I have been peers in the industry, and I'm excited to partner with you on this educational event tonight. And then Dr. Erin is actually a PhD in nutritional biochemistry and is also the lead innovation and scientific affairs expert at Shaklee headquarters and has incredible insight into a lot of the great products and science behind them. So we'll dive into that a little bit. And then myself, I am an author, podcaster, skin and regulatory expert for, gosh, I think 15 to 20 years at this point. So I love to dig into stuff and ask questions, which is what I'm going to do with these ladies for you tonight. Okay, next up. So just so we're kind of level setting and having the same level of knowledge before we dive into the deep stuff. I wanted to make sure everybody knows the sun does improve your health in a number of ways. So, yes, I think we hear often about how getting burned is bad for us and increases our risk of cancer. But there are a lot of things that the sun does really wonderfully for us and is important and necessary for life, not just for humans, but for the whole earth. And so there's a lot of benefits that our bodies get out of sunlight, including helping to balance our hormones, which is also in alignment with circadian rhythm. So we're going to talk about that. And sleep, which regulates all of that, is dependent obviously on sunlight. But our bodies can't even make, vitamin D properly without sunlight, which is one of the ways that affects all of our health. So there's a lot of different things that go into how the sun affects our overall health and well-being, and we're going to dive into that. Wanted to give you a top tip here. One of the things that you can do today for free that will help your health, and that is to expose your eyes and skin to natural sunlight the first thing that you can in the morning. So first thing I like to do when I wake up is open my blinds and look out the window towards the sun, obviously not into the sun, because Michelle will tell you that's not good for your eyes, but you want to be making sure that you're getting sunlight in your eyes and on your skin right away. Okay, next. Obviously, we know that the sun hurts our health as well. So when we're talking about these different ways, I want you to think about the layers of penetration that the sun has into your body. So UVC rays, we don't hear about a lot. Those are really short and they don't even really come down to our earth. But UVB and UVA are the ones that are going to affect the top layer of your skin and cause the burning associated with skin cancer. And UVA are actually the longest wavelength that penetrate deeper into our dermis and can cause DNA damage. So we're also going to be looking at blue light, which is a portion of the light spectrum, and how that affects our aging and different kinds of things as well. But keeping in mind that the sun and all of these things plays an impact at a much deeper level, pun intended, than just the surface. Okay. So as I mentioned, blue light is one of the things that I think has become more aware in our culture. And blue light is actually really energizing. It's something that is helpful for us during the day. It tells human beings to be awake and to be energized. The problem with that is that when we are exposing ourselves to unnatural blue light with artificial lighting and screens, it can actually cause a disruption in how we process energy and our circadian rhythm. It can be really stimulating, which then inhibits our melatonin secretion, which is what tells your body to get tired and to go to bed, and actually activate our adrenocortical stress response and hormone production, which can affect our hormones. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is, sunlight, but also consider that blue light doesn't necessarily come from the sun, although blue is part of the spectrum. It has other impacts to our health, specifically aging our skin as well. Okay, now I am not an expert in all this. I just wanted to lay a little bit of the groundwork. What we are going to do is dive deep, and these lady experts are going to take us there. Michelle's going to kick us off talking about eye health, and then we're going to go into DNA, which I'm super jazzed and excited to talk about because I don't think that people understand it well enough. And obviously, skin and SPF, vitamin C, all those things are very important as well. So I am excited to kick it over to the experts. Michelle, please geek out on us.
Yes, I could. Thank you, Stacy. I could do the whole evening on just eyes, so I will have to keep myself minimized there. But as Stacy was saying, what's really important is that early morning and late evening long wavelength red light for getting into our eyes. But we do know that those shorter UV wavelengths are damaging, right? So our body naturally has protective mechanisms and repair mechanisms to address those issues, right? That damage that can be caused. So one of our primary sources of protection is from our food. We do not manufacture these things in our body. And they are fat soluble antioxidants, and you can see them listed there, the carotenoids. We have beta carotene, alpha carotene, astaxanthin, zeaxanthin, lutein, and lycopene. You may have heard about a disease called macular degeneration. It is more common in fair-skinned females, Caucasian smokers, and it's really actually pretty incredible. When we are in our mother's womb at around 33 weeks, the astaxanthin, zeaxanthin, that is actually deposited. So in our fat stores as women, if we have not eaten that recently, it's actually stored away in our fat and drawn from our body and then deposited into the back of the eye. And it is protecting us from harmful light in that macula, which is where we get our central vision, our high acuity vision. So the human body is incredible. It does have protective and repair mechanisms. We do need to provide it with the nutrients so that it can function the way that it's designed to. The other really cool thing about eyes is that we can see a lot of other systemic conditions that are going on in the body at your eye exam. We can actually see the only intact cranial nerve that's actually in the body with looking in your eyes. And my nephew's knocking on the door. And diseases that affect the blood vessels. So anytime you have elevated blood sugar, like in diabetes, high blood pressure, any sort of vascular occlusive activity, we will see evidence of that in the eyes as well. Multiple sclerosis, we see that as in the optic nerve, actually. And then you've got thyroid disease as well, many other diseases. So when you go and get your eye exam and they say your eye health looks great, that is signing you off on a multitude of things. So don't take that for granted. I think as we get into our 40th decade, it's like, we appreciate those good bills of health. And then in addition to ocular diseases. So your annual eye health exam, this is my plug, go get your eyes checked. Next up is circadian rhythm. So our circadian rhythm is our 24-hour body clock, right? It's with a very sophisticated anatomical area in our brain. And as women, we also have a monthly or roughly 28-day, depending on your cycle, infradian rhythm that is also regulating all the things happening in our body. As Stacy said, as I mentioned, it is so important to get that early morning and that late evening long wavelength red light to regulate this rhythm for us. We actually know, I think it was a study done in 22, that shift workers that are not exposed to a normal kind of pattern for human living actually die 15 years sooner, which is shocking and unbelievable, right? This is also why if you're in a hospital, try to get sunlight, right? We know of phenomenons with elderly people called sundowners, where they're not on that regular cycle and it's affecting them. I think I've covered everything here. And tools to help. So I am a huge fan of these little packets right here, you guys. I have access to practitioner grade supplements that I've been taking for a decade plus that I get very affordably at wholesale. And I can tell y'all, for one example, my blood test for vitamin D, I have been low for about a decade since I had my middle son. And for the first time in March, my vitamin D values have improved by over 20 points. And it's because of this little packet right here. And one of the things that I don't know if y'all can appreciate or see, but in my packet, I have this little red pill, which is called Corrado Max. And that is helping to support those carotenoids that we were talking about that you need for those protective mechanisms in your body. And then I'll also talk about my omega-3s later on. I also have the Dream Serene. I meant to bring that with me. It is a phenomenal sleep support supplement. I personally don't take that one on a nightly basis simply because it does have that 2 milligrams of melatonin. But when I know I'm kind of off balance and I'm going to need some support, I do take that and I notice incredible benefits for that. So, as well as we have our sleep tea. And next up, specific to your eyes, but here's the deal. The body is a holistic organism, right? So while we're seeing and identifying specific effects in the eyes, these nutrients that I'm going to highlight, omega-3s and collagen, they're helping support the tissues and the repair mechanisms and the building blocks for our entire body. Dry eye disease, if you have not heard about it, is a progressive disease and it can lead to vision loss. Our tear film is an incredible creation mechanism. There's 3 layers to it, produced by 3 different areas in the eye. And the outer layer is the one that the omega-3s support. And that is because we have glands on our eyelid called the meibomian glands. And every time you blink, they secrete this, or they inflict this perfect pressure to secrete this oily layer, which is supposed to be like an olive oil type substance on the outside of your eye, which should keep your tears intact after blinking for over 10 seconds. And we can actually view that in the slit lamp biomicroscope in your eye exam. So we can measure that and we can quantify that and over time. So omega-3s, super important. We know that we can get them from our diet, salmon, walnuts, olive oil, avocados. We also know that supplementation is very supportive. I also really like the omega jellies that are pictured there. They're appropriate for all ages. And what's really cool about these is they were developed with a Norwegian scientist and they mimic the makeup of omega-3s in our food. So our body can more readily digest and absorb those. I think they taste fantastic. I actually sort of crave them at times. They don't have a fishy taste. There's a little bit of a lemon flavoring to those. And then it also, what omega-3 does is it decreases inflammation throughout the body, specifically to the eye. Dry eye disease also is an inflammatory disease. So the EPA in that, you have DHA and EPA. The EPA is specifically the one that's providing the anti-inflammatory effect there. And then also collagen. So we've often heard a lot about collagen. There is a gel ball that occupies the primary space of your eyeball. And as we age, those collagens and proteins and fibrils break down and they will clump together. That's called the vitreous gel ball. And so collagen has been demonstrated to support that, as well as dry eye disease. It's helping to support the tear production and protecting against glaucoma, which is affecting the optic nerve, cataracts, which is caused by UV damage and other oxidative stress in the body, and macular degeneration, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm around if y'all have any other questions. I could talk all day about eye health. I'm super excited to hear from Dr. Erin. Thanks for having me, ladies.
We do have one question before we kind of wrap eyes, which is about red light and if it's okay to do red light therapy without the goggles. I know when you were talking about red light, I also want to just emphasize part of red light is reducing blue light. But if someone was going to do red light therapy, do you recommend goggles, or how far away from the face should they be?
I think those are going to be instrument and device specific. So I think for me to try to give you specific physical medicine guidance on that's not really fair. I do personally have a small red light box that I will put on my vanity, and I'll use that when I'm doing my morning and evening routines. And then, there are masks that, and specifically there's practitioner grade ones or home ones that you're actually applying it directly to the eyelid closed. But I know that devices do recommend using the goggles. I don't know enough about every single device to give you the technical specifications. I would say check with the recommendations with your device.
Totally fair. Okay, Erin, tell us all about our aging cells.
Yeah, I'm up. And sorry, I do not have product to share. I wish I would have known and I would have grabbed my products that I'm going to talk about, but I can at least speak to them. Michelle, thank you. That was awesome. I learned so much. But I think there's a great segue with collagen, right? That so often, especially in our 40s, where we first start to experience aging is on the outside, right? We notice Our skin maybe is starting to sag, the wrinkles, our hair doesn't look as shiny. Maybe we have some gray hairs, achy joints. But the really important thing to know is that aging actually starts on the inside. It starts in our cells. And if our cells are healthy and young and vibrant, then we're young, healthy, and vibrant. So where sun exposure becomes important here is our cells are attacked over 500 trillion times every single second. So these attacks are coming from obvious things like the food that we eat, UV radiation, UV, specifically the UVA. I always think UVB, burn, UVA, that's the one that's penetrating deep. So those UVB rays, the UVA rays, other environmental exposures. And what those things do specifically, the UVA rays, they create these molecules referred to as reactive oxygen species. Those reactive oxygen species, they trigger oxidative stress, they trigger inflammation, and that is what causes damage to our cells. Over time, when the cells are damaged, that's what causes the cells to become unhealthy, no longer able to function, and cause us to age. That leads to things like wrinkles, things on the outside that we visibly notice that are associated with aging, but also chronic health conditions as well. So thinking about what that oxidative stress, that inflammation does to our cells and why it causes them to age. One of the most important things that it does do is it can impact our DNA. So our DNA, I think, we're all familiar with, we've heard the terminology DNA, but what exactly does DNA do? So DNA is kind of like the blueprint for our body. It's what our body reads to know how to make all the different proteins in our body that deliver all the functions that we need, from enzymes that digest our food, to hormones to help our cells communicate, to neurotransmitters that help our brain and the rest of our body communicate. So that DNA is really serving as the blueprint that our body uses to make all the proteins that we need to function optimally. So like I said, that those reactive oxygen species, the oxidative stress, the inflammation, it can actually cause damage to our DNA. And when our DNA is damaged, that can lead to changes in the way that our proteins are built, how they function, and then of course, the ability of those cells to function accurately. Okay.
Erin, people are having a hard time seeing the slides, so I told them it was just words on the slide anyway, so hopefully they were listening to you.
Okay,
You want to let me take over? Yeah, there you go.
It said it was paused. Sorry. Can you see it again?
Yeah, okay, great.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Next slide. So one of the other, there are a lot of different structures within our cells that can be impacted by that oxidative stress, by that inflammation. One of them we just talked about is DNA. But the other thing that can be affected is our mitochondria. So our mitochondria, do you all remember mitochondria from like middle school science? I vividly remember the powerhouse of our cells, right? So the mitochondria is what generates energy within our cells. As we get older, again, from all of those attacks, for example, from the UVA rays that are coming from the sun, the mitochondria can become less dense. So there's fewer mitochondria. It also cannot function as well. So this means that our cells aren't able to produce as much energy, and our cells need to produce energy in order to function optimally. So again, as we're getting older, we're seeing damage to our DNA. We're seeing less dense mitochondria that aren't able to function as well, aren't able to produce energy. And that is what is aging of cells. So when our cells are aging, we're aging. Okay, so this is where one of our incredible products comes in, Vivix. So Vivix is formulated with super powerful antioxidants, there we go, that come from the muscadine grape and other potent polyphenols. So we have a really neat story of our sourcing of the hero ingredient in these products, the muscadine grape. Muscadine grapes, or grapes in general, they typically grow in pretty mild conditions, right? They grow in northern Italy and northern California, very mild conditions. But the muscadine grape, it is able to grow in super harsh conditions. And the reason for this is it actually has an extra set of chromosomes. So typical grapes have 19 or 18 chromosomes, and the muscadine grape has an extra set, 19. And that extra set of chromosomes gives it thick thicker skin. So having that thicker skin allows it to grow in a little bit just like tougher conditions. And that extra set of chromosomes. Did you lose sharing again?
Nope, we're taking it over for you, so you can just
Oh,
focus on
okay.
presenting.
And then that extra set of chromosome also gives it an even more potent. Are you sharing or should I wait?
Laura, you're going to share now? She told me she's good to, she's going to run tech. I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
No, we're good.
I love the story about the grapes
Yeah.
and that
Okay.
we upcycled them too.
Yeah. I'll just keep going. So
Yeah.
the extra set of chromosomes also gives it a really, really potent antioxidant profile. So we, Roger, our CEO, identified this multi-generational family farm, really sweet, incredible family that was growing muscadine grapes in the southern part of the US. And we got into a partnership with them. So they were growing the grapes exclusively to make juices and to make wines. And they were actually having to pay to get rid of all the other parts of the grape. So the seeds, the pumice, all of that, they were discarding and having to pay to have it discarded. And our scientists realized that that was the part of the grape that was really rich in these polyphenols. So we partnered with them. We actually built an extraction facility on their farm. So they did all their processing, got the juice to make the wine, make the juices, and gave everything else to us. And then we concentrated that. We combined it with other sources of polyphenols to create this really unique, it's actually the world's most potent source of polyphenols in the world. We created this blend on their family farm, and then we used that blend in our Vivix product. I think we're on slide 14. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so one thing that we do at Shaklee is we're very, very committed to the science. We have over 140 clinical studies that we have done on our products and the ingredients in them, and Vivix is no different. Vivix is one of the products that we have extensively studied. So what we have been able to show with this product is, I spoke earlier about the key things that are causing our cells to become damaged and age, is those free radicals, that oxidative stress, and that inflammation. And we have studies showing that those potent polyphenols that are in Vivix, they're actually able to neutralize those reactive oxygen species. They're actually able to quench that oxidative stress so that we see significantly lower amounts of those reactive oxygen species, significant lower rates of oxidative stress. So those things that are causing damage to our cells, we're significantly minimizing them with those key ingredients in Vivix. And then we looked at the health of the cells. We said, okay, we know that we're reducing these attacks, these attackers that are coming and causing damage to our cells and causing our cells to age. Do we actually see healthy cells when they're treated with these key ingredients with Vivix? And we do. So not only are we reducing the attackers, those things that are causing damage to our cells, but we're seeing an improvement in the health of the cells. So we talked about DNA damage, right? So when cells are treated with those ingredients in Vivix, there's a 2/3 reduction in the DNA damage. Also the mitochondria. So the mitochondria are, the powerhouses of the cell that are generating the energy. We see that when cells are treated with those ingredients in Vivix, there's a 98% increase or twofold increase in the density of the mitochondria, in the ability of those mitochondria to actually produce energy so those cells can function at their best. There's also one other thing that happens that we looked at specifically that happens when cells get older is there's this accumulation. It's kind of like plaque. So it's called age protein. So as our cells get older, these proteins accumulate. And it's kind of like plaque, like I said, and it prevents them from functioning optimally. And we treated cells with just resveratrol and then the polyphenol blend that we have in Vivix. And we saw a 13-fold, the Vivix ingredients are 13 times more powerful than resveratrol alone and reducing the formation of those damaging proteins. So like I said, we're able to reduce the number of attackers that are coming to attack our cells. And then by doing that, we're able to help keep our cells healthy and young. And then another fun story that we did, and this is one I know that a lot of people like to share, is a clinical study that we did with people, just a single serving of Vivix. So just showing how powerful Vivix can be after one use. We gave people an unhealthy breakfast. So they consumed an unhealthy breakfast. Then we looked at markers of inflammation. And naturally, if someone's consuming an unhealthy breakfast, those markers of inflammation spike, right? And then we fed people that same healthy breakfast on a second occasion. The only thing we did differently is just gave them one dose of Vivix. And like I said, with the unhealthy breakfast, those markers of inflammation go up. But when we gave them Vivix, there was no increase of those markers of inflammation. So we're seeing with those original studies I showed you that we're able to protect ourselves from the attackers, preserve the health of the cells, but then we also see very short-term acute benefits and reducing that inflammation, which can also have long-term effects on the health of our cells. Okay, so that's Vivix, and I want to speak really quickly to that polyphenol blend that I mentioned that is included in Vivix. So that's that blend that we created on that multi-generational farm that is the world's most potent source of polyphenols. It's of course in Vivix, but then it's also threaded throughout a number of our other products. So you're going to see that polyphenol blend, the muscadine grape, the polyphenols from resveratrol, as well as other sources throughout our skincare line. So it's in our youth products and it's also in our body products as well. So if we want to go to the next slide. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but just to reiterate, those UV rays that are coming from the sun, they're directly impacting, they're attacking, in effect, our cells. And they're also directly impacting some of those structural proteins that gives our skin its strength, its structure, its elasticity. So collagen, elastin, those free radicals, that oxidative stress, that inflammation that's generated from those UV rays, from the food that we eat, they can directly impact those structural proteins that have a direct implications on the health of our skin. So one thing that we did was we partnered with some dermatologists and experts, researchers in the field, and developed what we refer to as the Skin Age Index. So what this is when we think about all the different factors in our skin that contribute to, or in effect determine, the age or the health of our skin. So wrinkles, fine lines, textures, the appearance of age spots, pore size, hyperpigmentation, our skin tone, how radiant our skin is, if it's firm, if it's sagging. So we looked across all of these different variables that contribute to, the age of our skin. And we assigned a score to each of those different factors based on the absence of the facial wrinkles or the degree of appearance of facial wrinkles, for example. And then based on that, all those different inputs, we were able to assign your skin an actual skin age. So a very objective, not subjective, but a very objective way for us to determine the age of your skin based on all of these variables that contribute to your skin age. And we were able to show that with the products that we have in our skincare line that have that muscadine grape and our polyphenol blend in it, that we're able to shift people's skin age an entire decade when they use our products for as little as 4 weeks. So this happens very quickly. So you can see here on the left, we have some of those products that are included in our youth anti-aging regimen. So we have a cleanser, we have a toner, we have a serum, and also a moisturizer, which you can use both a day cream as well as a night cream. And you can see there that 100% of women shifted their skin age. And then we see that 2/3 of women shifted it to a younger decade, again, based on those different measures to determine what skin age is. And then we also have, Michelle, do you have our wands? No, okay. Our ageless wands, we also have muscadine grape is in our ageless wands, but this is really powered by a incredibly unique 8-peptide blend. And these wands, They are incredible. I love these. I use them day and night along with my face yoga. If no one has tried face yoga, and I love it. But these immediately reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. So they're able to instantly relax the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. So addressing fine lines and wrinkles very immediately. But then they also, I mentioned earlier, that collagen, elastin, those are the proteins that provide the strength and the structure to our skin. Sorry, Stacy, I'm realizing I'm taking your slide right now. They're what provide the strength and the structure to our skin. So by supporting the production, you know, as we get older, our body has a harder time making collagen, and we actually start to break it down. So the peptides in this help to actually produce more collagen, maintain the collagen that we do have. So not only do we see this immediate reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, but we see an improvement over time because we're helping to support the production of collagen, the production of elastin, so that we maintain that elasticity and firmness in our skin.
No apologies. You're the expert on this stuff. I'm happy to have you. Laura, can you go back just one slide for a second so that people can see? These were the antioxidants and polyphenols that Erin was talking about go into our body and show on our skin. And one of the things that I want to highlight here, if you'll notice, we talk about the nutrients C and E. And so as we go forward, so we're going to go forward 2 slides now. We're going to talk next about the Shaklee C and E pods, the Radiance C and E, which is a serum in these little plant-based pods. So another really cool thing that Shaklee has done is vitamin C, often when you are putting it on topically, has already been oxidized because by the time it comes to you, it's been exposed to sunlight or air or different kinds of things. And these little pods are keeping that vitamin C serum stable without needing a bunch of preservatives or things like that. And they're biodegradable. So when you are applying this intense, amazing serum, you can see all of the positive reviews that we've gotten, 100% clinical study showing dark spot intensity reduction within 4 weeks, not to mention all kinds of wonderful things from these. But what you'll notice is that it is stable and it's going to be more effective. So that's one of the great things that Erin and the people at Shaklee are doing, is making sure not just that the products that they're creating are good, but that then when you're using them, your body is able to absorb them more effectively because of the type of products that are being used. So 20% vitamin C from raspberry seed extract, I think, and some other really great stuff in there. And what's great about this is that it is a free gift, or not free gift, it is a gift this month from Shaklee for only $10 with a qualifying purchase. So if we go to the next slide, it will also, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, get you a little advantage for a upcoming vitamin C based product that is going to also be incredible for reducing sun damage and coming very, very soon. So if you take advantage of this Radiant C and E offer, you're also going to be able to get a juicy little deal in the very near future that we can't fully yet talk about, but trust us when we tell you you're going to want this. And they complement each other incredibly well, which we'll talk more about as things roll out. But next slide. One of the ways that you can take advantage of the C&E offer, if you're interested in it, is to get the Cellular Beauty Bundle. We also have skin regimens, as Dr. Erin showed you, where you're getting like a full 4-step skin routine. And if you're in the US, it comes in with eye cream. If you are in Canada, it comes with the body scrub. And you could get the Radiant C&E pods for only $10. If you're like, oh my gosh, that Vivix is what I need, me. Okay, listen, I can tell you my personal story is that I have autoimmune diseases and my inflammation has always been high since I was a kid because of them. And since I started taking Vivix, my inflammation was in a normal range for the first time in my entire life. I have articles and blood work and all kinds of things to show, but for me, Vivix is one of those things that I will never go without. It is medicine for me. I take it very, very seriously. So I'm excited that Dr. Erin was able to talk a little bit about why and how it's so effective. So if you're like me and you want to try Vivix, getting the Vivix bundle with the wands, with the collagen, in either the US or Canada. It's a different bundle because of the Health Canada regulations. It's a bag in Canada and it sticks in the US, but there's a really great bundle for that. And definitely talk with the person who invited you to this webinar, because there are other perks and ways that you can take advantage. We have referral links. You can become an ambassador. There's a really, really great offer, including Vivix, for our team members who are joining us this month, and we can talk to you about that one-on-one. But there's all kinds of different things that our team can have conversations with you about. Just reach out to the person who invited you. Okay, and I think that that's going to wrap us up. Door prizes. So I'm going to I'm going to write down some names here to reach out to someone, to reach out and offer the collagen sticks. Let's see. Let me see. Shelly Katz. Can you email the person who invited you, and you can get collagen sticks? And let's see here. Looking through comments for non-team members. If you haven't yet commented, do it now. And Richard, for a 5-day trial of Vivix. Okay. So reach out to the person who invited you to get your address, and we'll send those over. And then we're also, as a team, going to make a donation to Shaklee Cares, which is a phenomenal 501(c)(3) charity, and they partner to Feed the Hungry and Baby to Baby to give some of our nutrition products where they are needed when they are needed. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to go ahead and do a little Q&A, stop screen share. Michelle and Erin, thank you so much. We ran a little bit over because of our tech challenges and everything. So I want to thank everyone for their patience and for your time and expertise being here. I know we all learned from listening to you both. I believe that we answered the questions that came in through the chat, but if anyone has anything else they want to ask, someone asked, Erin, you already answered about the reset and rewind having the polyphenol blend. Yeah, wonderful.
You're going to see it and thread it. It's in a lot of our products. So
okay.
Finding that protection.
So Alicia just asked, is there such a thing as taking too many plant polyphenols?
So when we did the research, we did what's referred to as a dose response study. So we looked at, smaller doses, increasing the dose, and really this is the optimal dose. So this is the dose that's going to deliver the most powerful benefits. It's not going to hurt you to take more, but I also want to be mindful of the money that you're spending, and the dose that we have recommended is the optimal dose to provide that protection for your cells.
And we didn't talk about it, but there's multiple forms too. I actually have it in my Meology so that, like I said, I treat it like medicine, so that I don't miss a dose. But you can also, there's wonderful gummies, and there's also a liquid, so you can make yourself like a lovely mocktail, or, yep, look, Vanna Shosa over there has got all the forms. So, and there's also a kosher form for those who might need it. So lots of different options with Vivix. And Alicia wants to know, is it okay to put it into a hot drink?
Let me double check, but I don't see why not. I think it should be fine.
It's not like probiotic live.
Oh, it's not like a probiotic, so I don't see any reason. Polyphenols are very resistant. They're resilient.
And is there a difference dosage wise between the different forms?
No. And I get a lot of questions about this, because if you look at the actual milligram amount of that blend across the 3 products, it's slightly different. And it's just how you have to concentrate them to get them in the different formats. But the actual total polyphenol content across all 3 of the formats is identical.
And when do you suggest the best time to take not just Vivix, but like supplements in general, with food in the morning?
Yeah, I always recommend to take it with food. I think it's just when you need to create your habit, right? Whenever it fits into your day best, because that's there, it's only as good as if you take it. So you need to make sure that you're creating a daily habit. So if morning is the time that works best for you, do it in the morning. I think for things like a Vivix that's really delivering a benefit over time, a long-term benefit, it doesn't matter the time of day. Obviously, something like a rest and rewind, you wanna take at night that's delivering the sleep benefits. But my recommendation is always just to make it fit into your day so you create that habit.
And it's okay to take Vivix with your other supplements, right? So like mine's in immunology. Yeah.
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 People love that unhealthy breakfast story. So a lot of times people take it before whatever their, indulgent meal of the day is.
I personally like to take my supplements after lunch because I find that like the low energy slump of the late afternoon is neutralized if I take my supplements at that time because then I'm getting my vitamin B energy and like all that kind of stuff. So I think we all have to do what is works for us. I like your answer, Erin. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone, and for the doctors I love. I was originally calling this the Smarter Rays with Two Smarty Pants Doctors learning seminar. You ladies are so phenomenal and full of information. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and time with us. And for Laura, who was running tech the second half of our training from the airport, there was a little bit of delays and scheduling and tech challenges, but everyone showed up. We learned so much, and I thank everyone for being here. Awesome. Everybody, go forth, get your Radiant C&E pods for $10. Reach out to the person who invited you. Do not miss out. Trust me, there's good stuff happening and good stuff coming, and they want to hear from you. Tell them you had a wonderful experience, what you learned, what questions you have, and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.